los anime. I am tired, so who knows how long this will last. But I wanted to talk about the, I don't know, corroboration. It's not corroboration. I made a connection in a podcast I was listening to earlier today. I think his name's James Campbell, right? I actually already explained the context, but briefly, I'm listening to him and Kurt Mungle have a conversation about conscious observer theory, right? And I had heard of conscious observer theory, but like, I think maybe the explanations were maybe kind of like convoluted, or maybe they were just using too many $1,000,000 words unnecessarily. But essentially, the way that he explained it, I won't even say it made me understand it, but it definitely made me make a connection. And I guess it could also be because I had just talked about this. I had just talked about a theory that I had about egregores. More so egregores than tulpas, but, you know, tulpas, I feel like, could apply specifically in the theory that I brought up. I'm not going to go over the entire theory, talk again, but you should go watch it. It's in the name, Egregores and Tulpas. I forgot what I called it, but essentially I was saying it kind of seems like we are being tricked into creating egregores to potentially later be used against us as weapons, right? And today I'm listening to this podcast and I hear dudes say that conscious observer theory basically is stating like a bit of simulation theory, which the more physicists I listen to, the more it feels like my view is being affirmed, right? At least the part where this is a simulation versus like just being a creation that, yeah, I'm not going into that. Anyway, so within that theory, or within his explanation, he used the example of a rock. A player in the game, an actual player, once they see the rock, it becomes a part of the game. And if you think about it, the way that that is positioned doesn't say how the rock is placed into that conscious observer's, line of sight, or, experience. Let's call it experience. Their radius of experience, right? Doesn't say how it's placed there. It just says that it's there. And once they observe it, it becomes an actual part of the simulation, meaning that other conscious observers also can now see it. So essentially, it's also referencing a shared database, like a shared consciousness. And, one conscious observer contributes to all conscious observers' database within this explanation, within this theory, right? And so when I heard that and made those connections in my brain, I'm like, oh, so then technically there's a good possibility that there is more significance, more strategy and tactic in social engineering and psyops, psychological operations. You've heard me say before that Hollywood is another agency. It's another agency of the government. It's an extension of intelligence. So it's an intelligence agency. It's a disinformation, misinformation, psychological operation, psychological warfare agency of, the intelligence, community. That lends more to my view of it being that. Because if you think about it from a different perspective, most people's perspective is that movies are just entertainment, fueled by, greed, fueled by money. And while that is also true, one could say that many of the beings that own those companies, own those corporations, and I mean at the top, because there's lots of shell corporations, there's lots of brackets and, collectives and all kinds of shit that usually ends up at 6 different conglomerates. Technically 3. When you hear people talk about BlackRock and what is it, State Street? I don't really care. I don't really care about that. But BlackRock and the other 2, they don't really need the amount of money that they make from those things. In fact, a lot of the time, movies lose money. Movies and TV shows often lose money, whether they are good or not, whether they're successful or not. And even sometimes with that, some of those are successful later, much later. So they don't, that whole box office thing, they might make a little bit of money then, be disappointed, maybe don't make their money back. And then 10 years later, sometimes, the movie cracks, right? Does it make as much money then as it would have when it originally came out? Usually not. So, there's some powerhouse stuff happening now, like Marvel shit, obviously. DC does okay. A24, they have quality stuff, so they do very well. But then again, do they, So when you think about it, they don't make much money off of that. And so the question arises, well then why make all of these movies? And, the obvious answer would be, oh, well, it's art. Many people love making that art, including myself. I like writing books. I'm working on one very slowly right now. Hopefully to be adapted into an anime, potentially, or a series, not sure yet. And I've just decided within the last few months that I have to do a massive amount of rewrites due to theft. Corporate, shameless theft. Netflix. Theft. Google Drive. Anyway, theft. Anyway, fuck you. So, in my position, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to continue to drive this industry that, essentially kind of, you could argue, breaks even. People make money. People make lots of money. But then again, I think that that's a part of the show. I think that, they say all the world's a stage. That's a very common theme on my channel, both in the terms of a simulation, but also in terms of, just the framework and buildup of our society. We think that all of these things are built on capitalism and money and so on and so forth, but the higher up you get, the more you realize those people don't even really use money. They use it for little things. But when it comes down to it, they don't need it. When you are doing business with another being that is also a gajillionaire, a trillionaire, or whatever, yeah, you swap money. But do either of you need that money? No. So it's a facade. It's they use it, but they don't need to. They use it because they have to keep that idea going within us. They don't actually need that money. They just do things. When Elon Musk, Cat Williams, I'm fucking quoting from that dumb interview. Cat Williams was right. When Elon Musk wants to launch shit at the firmament, does he need permits? Does he, he works with the government very obviously, but he can do what he wants. He just tells them, hey, I'm going to launch at this date. Sometimes they tell him, hey, we need you to launch on this date. So they don't need that money. And as that's swirling around in my head, I'm like, okay, so that kind of lends to my, theory that much of it is for psychological operations. They make movies and TV shows and comic books and all these things to entertain you, which the etymology is not exactly what you would think it would be. To entertain is to hold, to bind, to hold the attention of. It's not to make you happy. It's to entertain you. So when you think about it, and then you think about the many but not so many themes that you see in those movies and series and comic books, and especially lately, very much especially recently, you can see a very specific, trend, a cycle, a common theme, or few common themes. Aliens, angels, demons, magic, violent competition. I'll add that in there. I think that that's important. I think that's also programming. But there's very specific themes, When I noticed that, without all this other context that I just gave a minute ago, I realized that that was all of it is being used to, implant shit. It's being used to, make you inclined to immediately losing your fucking mind when the grid goes down or when the internet is lost. Which is, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. There are beings that are like, oh, the solar flash is gonna do it. One, that's not impossible, but who controls that sun? And when I say that, I'm referencing the non-heliocentric Earth model, the local sun and moon, the local celestial body model, meaning it's under the firmament, and that to me denotes controllable. It means being able to be controlled by, kind of occult hidden forces that we are not at all, acquainted with. We have no idea. We talk about reptilians and all kinds of shit. We don't fucking know if any of that's true. That's the same people that tell you those things are the same people I'm talking about making these movies and shit, right? So all that Anunnaki talk and reptilians and Billy Carsons and fucking the old British guy that talks about reptilians, I forgot his name. They seem very cozy with these agencies, right? They play the anti-hero. They make it seem as though they're giving you information that it's dangerous for them to let you have. But in reality, they both have been talking about these things for a long time. If they wanted to shut them up, they would have. Go invent a water vapor hydrogen powered car and see how long you live, right? So when those two talk about Anunnaki and reptilians and all these very seemingly conspiratorial but actually very fluffy, like plush stuffed animal type topics, I think that that's controlled opposition. I think that they're meant to make you think that they're giving you priceless good information, but they're not really. Billy Carson will take you to fake Egypt. He'll take you to fake Egypt. You'll stay in 5-star hotels the entire time. That's a quote. He said, 5-star hotels. Who gives a fuck about that? If I'm coming to view some things for, anthropological or, any scientific study, that's nice to stay in a nice hotel, but that's secondary. I want to go to the real places. I want to see the real things. I want to get as hands-on as I can. And even in fake Egypt, over there, they don't let you go to many places. And once they do let you go, it means that they've already been there. They've scrubbed up. They've painted over the things they want to paint over. They've shaved noses off and done all that other shit. So what's the value in that, really, other than to be further confused, right? So you could even say figures like that, beings like that, are also a part of this seemingly organized agency group. It's interagency, I guess. So once I started thinking in the lines of even I love movies. I love movies. I love series. I love writing. I love imagination. I love making connection between between writing, creative writing, so-called fiction, and potential realities. As much as that word has lost a lot of meaning for me in the past few years, I still like that. So, I consider that to be a part of research and whatnot. And this doesn't change any of that. The fact that I believe now that it's agency operation doesn't change that, because it still gives you a view into the mind of your enemy, right? Know your enemy. Study your enemy. And so, again, I'm listening to Campbell detail this conscious observer theory and the different aspects of it, and he gives this example. And as he says the bit about the rock, it leads me back to the Egregore talk that I had a couple days ago. And within that data set, within those parameters, it reminded me that those two things are very similar. Something is placed within your experience, within your radius. You believe it because you can see it and interact with it. Once you do that, other beings are more inclined to also now have that capability. So by that I mean, someone films what they think is a UFO or chemtrails or an alien in their backyard or alien misty shadow guys at a mall, or someone inhabited by a demon. All these things, they're repeated phenomena, but you've never seen one, most likely in real life, in person. Maybe a movie, maybe a TV show, comic book, something like that. If you have seen that, cool. But, as I said within that Egregore talk, There is technology that we have no idea about, most of us. Um, if you, it really does behoove you. You should feel an urge to start going and checking declassified documents and government patents. I would say more so government patents, honestly. If you're trying to confirm some shit or just get an idea of the things that could be affecting you. And I'm kind of saying that at a specific section of those beings that end up watching this. Because I had to do this, and it really did help to balance me. I still believe in metaphysics. I still believe in the metaphysical. I still believe in the occult. I still believe in interdimensional being. I still believe in a lot of things. But I'll give an example of my own so that you can see I'm not just saying some bullshit to other people and not following it myself. So everyone is familiar, not everyone. Beings within our circles are familiar with ascension symptoms, right? Very heavily pushed. All the influencers talk about it. All the channels talk about it. All the, social media channels talk about it. So I'm covering channelers and channels, I should say it that way. These symptoms are alleged to include ringing in the ears, headaches, muscle aches, nausea, dizziness, sudden sleepiness, insomnia, psychosis, many different symptoms. You could even go look it up there. People make lists. They make them seem very, very official and like this is something that's happened before. I can at least tell you that ascension symptoms are not it's not a cyclical thing. It's not a repeated phenomenon. This is brand new. No one has ever talked about ascension symptoms before now. And to add to that, ascension symptoms are, and this is something that I've spoken about before, actually. So I go more in depth. If you want to know more about what I'm about to tell you, I go way more in depth. There's videos about the source of it. I talk about how I watched a channel called Lookout for Charlie. Lookout, F-A, Charlie. What's up, Oz? And Joseph. So, Look Out for Charlie. I don't know if it's the first video I find, but I start watching, and the topic that he was talking about kind of grabbed my attention. It was something about frequency. And as I'm listening to this dude talk, he starts naming my symptoms, right? And I'm like, the fuck? What do you mean? And as he's naming my symptoms off, I realize this dude hasn't said ascension symptom once. As a matter of fact, you know what? I remember now. I clicked the video because it's called the ascension symptom, the ascension psyop, or the ascension symptom psyop, something like that. So I'm like, I need to know about this because you see how my brain works. I love the metaphysical, but I want it to be real. And I'm not pusillanimous about it. I want to stress test it. So I'm not just going to believe it because I hear it and want it to be true. I want it to be confirmed so that I know that it's real. There are metaphysical things that I know are real because I have gone and done so much research, and I at least got corroboration from multiple civilizations, from multiple accounts, different decades, different generations who talk about the same shit over and over again. That's how I get corroboration. That's how I get confirmation. So I click on the video because of that. And as he's talking, he's naming off the symptoms. And I'm like, okay, checks out. And I have many of these symptoms, right? And at the time, they're really getting at me intensely. One of them's happening right now. I talk about that in my first Patreon video, which they just let me have back after a week straight of sabotage. So the Patreon video is up. I'm going to start trying to post there more again. Very discouraging that they would, allow that sabotage, but I'll give it another shot. You know what I mean? Anyway, so he's naming off these symptoms, and this dude specializes in sound, in frequency, right? And so he starts to detail harp. He starts to talk about harp very suddenly, and I'm like, okay, what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Because at the time, all I know about harp is weather modification, right? And potentially direct energy weapon shit. But as he starts to talk, he's very, very masterful with the way he, progresses this presentation that he's doing. He goes on to connect that harp, not only they use frequency to manipulate the weather, right? Which I knew, but I think frequency and sound are new topics to all of us. I was aware that you can do many things with it, so that wasn't news to me. You can set fires, you can levitate things, you can freeze water, you can boil the blood in a person's body, you can target the frequencies to their brain and make that do all kinds of stuff. You do all kinds of things with frequency, and they hide that. They haven't told anybody that until very, very recently, I think purposefully. So he essentially starts naming off these ascension symptoms and saying how the different frequencies that they use, extremely low frequency, RF signals, microwaves, regular low frequency, those are all used to create those ascension symptoms. They are side effects of manipulations that are being done to all of us, blanketed, and they just came up with a cool name, branded it, and then told y'all that it was a cool part of this real event. I'll say that there is a sort of there's a new age occurring, there is an ascension occurring, I think, in consciousness, but they've muddied that up to where there is mass psychosis right now. I have a video on that. Psychosis is in the name. I think I have 2 videos on that because it really is upsetting to me and disturbing how many beings are just like gone now. Completely gone. I had a conversation recently that freaked me right the fuck out. Beings are losing it. They really are losing it. These buzzwords and these affirmations that make them feel superior or make them feel, less traumatized. They make them feel better about their experience. It's good in ways, but it's also not. It's dangerous. They're doing it in ways that's really messing with people's brains, and there is mass psychosis. I talked about it as if I think it might be coming. It's here. And I made a short video talking about how they're, pooping in the skies with all these chemicals and shit. And I theorized, like, oh, well, what if they do that with psychotropic drugs or hallucinogens? Just let us take care of each other while they hide in bunkers. Like, there's so much real stuff going on that it's so easy to fall into these explanations. And so, again, go watch those harp videos. All the videos that I just mentioned, all this shit is connected. I'm basically talking about one theory that I am building. There's a common thing called a common study, a common pursuit called the theory of everything. My theory of everything is different from all of those academics that you see talking about that on Kurt's show, on any of these academic-based, nootropic brain food based podcasts. My theory of everything is different. It's, still building it out, hard to explain it, but it has more to do with consciousness specifically, this experience, the fact that it is objectively not what many of them are detailing. And what Look Out for Charlie's channel showed me is a part of that. Millions of people think that they are ascending in a specific way, and they're partially correct, but they're mostly incorrect. They're being manipulated by frequencies. Again, I said, one of them is happening as I'm making these videos. Every single time I do a video, this one symptom attack happens every time I do one of these. And it doesn't just happen during the videos, it happens throughout the day too. Also, that specific attack is connected to, like, the programmable graphene that's in the water, the precipitation, so snow and rain. It's in your food, it's in the groundwater, it's in the ground soil. Programmable graphene, also smart dust, and when I say these things, I understand how it sounds. I know that it sounds like science fiction, but go look the patents up. That's all I can give you. Go look the patents up. And so once I listened to this video all the way through, this dude gives you a detox to get this shit out of your body and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of futile at this point because they're just dumping it on us at all times. And it's in, like I said, it's in everything that you're consuming and coming into contact with. So you can do it to try to, like, get the levels down, but you're not going to get it out or, get away from it. So within that, if that is just one operation that is being done, and look at how many different aspects are a part of this operation. Look at how many moving parts. What's the detox? I think I talk about it. I said it's in the heart videos. Right? Yeah, it's in the I say what video I watched of his. So it's in the heart videos, and then there's also, I think I even linked the video for his, or it might be posted on the Instagram. I've been doing so much, I don't know where the post is, but it is in the heart videos for sure. I know I put it in the heart videos. Yeah, I'm listening to him basically dispel ascension symptoms, and everybody is still to this day very much just enamored by it. And I get it, I understand. It feels better. You feel less traumatized, less helpless, and less fucked with when someone tells you, oh, well, you can ascend out of this. You can become a superhero. And it's not to say that those things aren't possible, but those specific symptoms are an attack, and most of it is classified as non-lethal weapons. You can even find videos right now of them testing some of them frequency weapons. They point it at you, you walk into, or they point it in a way during these tests. The test subjects walk through the line of sight of the weapon, and you can see the discomfort. It looks bad. It looks not fucking good. These are the things that I think they'll probably use once things get a little more rough, and beings are kind of more fed up once the dollar collapses in like a month or two. If they'll go through the means to do all that, then why would they not? Yeah, Havana syndrome. That is one of them also. I also talk about a voice to skull technology. They also called it voice of God, VOG. They've tested that in war efforts in the Middle East, and a couple of other things too. So basically, if they'll do all of that, then obviously the thought that they would use movies and TV and comic books and take decades to plan these things out, because a lot of the technology that they've been using, or that they have, I'll say that they have, It's not new at all. They've been, you know, creating things and innovating them and optimizing them for decades. So they'll make something, or they'll get something. Let's say they'll get something because someone's giving them this shit, or they're finding it and back engineering it, and they get it ready. They implement it, or they integrate it into their plans. You know, because none of the shit that's happening right now is like off the cuff. This is all planned shit, right? I think the movie shit and the TV and series and even news, social media, all of that is implanting your subconscious with things to later be used as weapons. And, you know, Campbell's conscious observer, observations lend to my theory. They give credence and credit to my theory, wherein that when he gives the example of the rock, a rock that the conscious observer is put in the line of sight of. So something, and I'm saying this in a different light now. So in this example, something, in my case, I would call it demiurge, Yaldabaoth, whoever you want to, there's many different names, puts this rock in the conscious observer's radius. They interact with this rock. It is now a part of the game. So at the same time that they're seeing it and interacting with it, it now becomes a part of the log, of the data that is used for any other conscious observer within that game. And to continue to use the game example, say you were playing like Cyberpunk or Red Dead Redemption or Fallout, any of these like first persons that have other versions where you can do open world and you're playing with other first persons. So you're not playing a game where the point of it is to have other, beings in the game with you, but you can. That's what this conscious observer theory is basically detailing. So when beings wonder, am I in here by myself, or is everyone here also in this, simulation? The answer is yes. The answer is both. You are playing a first-person game with other potential players, and then also varying levels of what beings have started calling NPCs. There's like a negative connotation to that really like irks me, but that's what most of y'all are calling it. So just for the sake of recognition, I just say NPCs, but there are varying levels of that, and that's not a new concept either. If you go back and look at a lot of civilizations, belief systems like the Zoroastrians, the Gnostics, they have varying explanations that cover that same thing, where there are those that can see just plainly, which would be most likely us, those of us that talk about these things, that research and study these things because we already see. Then there are those that can see if they're shown. So like they can see and understand it, but they're not looking for it, or they don't have the capacity to just see it themselves. They need someone to, say, make these videos or do the posts that many of you do on Instagram and on other social media, options. So they just need a little help. And then there are those that just, no matter what you say to them, no matter what you show them, no matter what they go through, they don't see it. They don't get it. They don't see it. And beyond that, they'll fight you over it. They'll argue with you. They'll say they'll get mad if you don't change your mind to their like kind of blind standpoint. Um, Basically saying they'll get mad if you don't close your eyes to these things. Um, they may even physically fight you. It's arguably the best argument to call some of them NPCs is that last one, because to fight or to get so upset or um, emotional to where you feel as though you need to argue or fight rather than just saying I don't see it or I don't want to talk about it, to me that signifies you're defending the game, or the game is defending itself through you. So, you know, very strange. But there are civilizations, there are belief systems and groups that have made these observations before. So, like, I just thought it was trippy, man. Like, hearing him talk about the conscious observer theory and using that very specific example led me back to the concept of egregores and how they could be co-opted and used for purposes. And I don't think that that's a new tactic or a new concept. I think in fact it's either, you know, the middle management utilizing something that they've seen upper management or you know, the ruler race use, or it's just the ruler race doing it again through middle management, which you could say that's semantics for each other, but essentially the main difference is middle management. Who made the decision? Was it them deciding to do some of this stuff on their own, or is this all just planned out, you know, by the false god, the false creator gods, demiurge and archons. So, you know, that's essentially what happened. I am very. I mean, it's weird to get excited about epiphanies or breakthroughs because this is something that I'm close to. This isn't me just studying like, you know, anthropology or, you know, chaos theory or some shit like that. I'm very specifically studying shit that is directly affecting me mentally, physically, you know, spiritually, consciously. It's also the reason that I do it. It's the reason that I can't stop researching or, you know, trying for progress. I think I would be more excited if it felt as though it wasn't so successful. Because I mean, look at the fucking Miami alien shit, bruh. Those videos sucked, and people were eating that shit up. It was crazy. People are still talking about it too. So within the theory that I just stated, right? The more that you interact with the thought form, because in order to make an egregore, it has to, in my opinion, first become a thought form. As that thought form becomes stronger, meaning more people start to talk about it, and subconsciously they're logging it. They're logging it as a possibility, or as a potentiality, or as a reality. It gains more strength. Whether you think you believe it or not, it gains more strength. You're logging it in the back of your head as a possibility. Even if you look at the video and say, man, that shit is fake, bro. That's not real. The shit looks dumb. You know? You still log it as a possible. So, and even secondary content, like beings talking about it or saying, you know, Well, I saw the videos. I don't think, but you never know. Just little shit like that is lending to the egregore gaining strength, gaining matter, for lack of a better word. It's moving from a thought form to an egregore. An egregore is a thought form that becomes matter, that is brought into the 3D 24/7. What do you mean by 24/7? Yeah, I mean it's they're pushing that one real hard, and little things like that make me feel like, oh, so this is you're pushing for this to happen soon, you know. It's the same thing as like the leave the world behind, um, don't look up. Civil War is coming out. Subconscious, yeah, true, 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 true. So, um, Alchemical Warrior just pointed out something that I said also like a couple days ago. Your eyes, your senses just pick up stimuli, right? And many people, I got into an argument almost over this shit last night. I was trying to tell somebody, like, look, when you see something and hear something, your brain doesn't separate it as fake or real. Like, unless you tell it to. So let me say that in a different way. Your eyes and ears don't separate it as real or fake. They just take in the stimuli. You have to consciously tell yourself, probably sometimes repeatedly, just to beat it back into the subconscious, this is not real. This is fake. And you might think that you're doing that, but as Alchemical Warrior just pointed out, it's not that easy. Your subconscious is very strong. Your subconscious is arguably stronger than your conscious. Because look at how easy it is to pull the fucking sheet over your eyes. But your subconscious is not dumb like that. So it's inverted. It's inverted, but you could also argue it's subverted because it's being used. Alchemical Warrior said he's arguing with the brothers and father over that. I think a lot of us are arguing with our families lately, which is sad, but I think that I know that any of y'all out there that are like me, you're done. You're done with giving up and being like, oh, I guess you might be right. No, I'm not doing that anymore, bro. It's dumb. If you don't get it, that's fine, but you're not about to make me keep giving you quarter in that way. Like, oh well, I guess I'll ease off that one. That's dumb. Fuck that. Yeah, but the Miami thing, and look at how much. So they call it disclosure, right? All the UAP stuff and all these experts are going on podcasts and shit and just talking about the dumbest secondary information, and many times they don't actually show you anything. Have y'all noticed any of that? It's like that with all of this stuff, actually. So many beings are coming out and being like, oh, they just discovered, this ancient blah 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 that proves blah blah blah, but they don't show it. They just say that they did it. They're doing that a lot right now, and they repeat it a lot. And then they give certain influencers like Billy Carson money to say to you that it's a true story, that it's a real story. They might even say, oh, well, I saw it. I went and checked it out. But how much of that are you actually seeing evidence of? And not just on videos on these apps and shit, but can you go look at it? Can you go look at it? Can you go touch it? Because you can't trust video, and I mean that in multiple ways. You can't trust what you see in video anymore because it's all digitized. Will Smith did that goofy ass video where he was like, I haven't looked this good in years. He's telling you the truth. That probably was, I won't say probably, it might not even been him. Matter of fact, I think at the end of that video they deconstructed him and shit. None of this shit has to be real. They backdoored you with video. And by that I mean they showed you the technology, television. right? And movies, films. You used to have to go to the theater to see these moving pictures with sound, and it was, you know, immense. It's wow, that's so crazy. Because before then, all you had was radio and newspaper. Then, once they solidify that, they give you the capability, they give you the technology to film things for yourself. And you think that it's just, oh, well, we're doing so well, we're making so many advancements in society. True, but also, they're giving you the technology to ingratiate you to it. So now you can film something and you can watch it yourself. So you trust that what you see on film is real. Because you can go do it. You can go film something, and then you can watch it back. So I filmed reality, and now I'm looking back at the reality that I filmed. So it must be like that every single time, right? Then you put a little space between that. Now you start to add computer graphics, and you get everyone used to the computer graphics. Like, oh, well, shit. You know, that's obviously not real, but it looks so real, but I know it's not. So that's okay. That's okay. Ingratiated to that. Now you add more time. You can make an entire video just like this, and the person's not even real. None of it's real. Talked about that too. I don't remember which video it was, but it was very recent. I can't remember. I don't know which one it was. Watch all the videos. Fuck it. But these plans are not, they're not small or quickly created plans. They're decades old, if not generations old, and they're very, very precise, and they're very, very intricate. And so, going back to the point that I started with, if you take all that into account and look at all of the inverses of these things, of these processes, like Hollywood and movies. I love all those things, not Hollywood. I love movies and I love TV shows and I like anime, I like comics, but we've all snapped to the idea that they're dropping shit in them, right? We all see that they're putting the shit that they do and the things that they believe and the things that they want you to believe in those movies and TV shows, right? So then, why would it be so far of a step for Hollywood to just not even be what you think it is, and is actually a government agency, an intelligence agency, or at the very least, an intelligence operation, a very large one? You know? If they'll do something like what was depicted in the show Snowfall, which is based on a true story. That shit happened. Not exactly the way that they showed it, because they did Ricky Ross bad at the end. He did not end up like that. We all know that. And we know that they took advantage of him and then put him in a hole. But, point being, if they'll do that, then why would what's weird about Hollywood just being that over and over again? Either an agency, and it's, I mean, honestly, fuck a operation. That's an agency, dude. That's too big to be considered an operation. There are operations going on within it. MK Ultra, deep off in Hollywood. I mean, they fucking grow people now. Disney grows children to sell to your kids as role models. They joked about it in a news, segment, and they they knew that beings would see that segment and be like, "Oh, that shit ain't real. I guess that's kind of funny." That wasn't a joke. They're not joking, nigga. You think because you think they can clone people, but they're not doing it? Come on, man. Come on, bruh. Like, some of the kids joke about it when they get older. Go look up videos of stars saying that they're clones. You're not just gonna find a couple. You'll find a whole lot of them. They say it. Like, matter of fact, to go from the opposite angle, I just got done talking about another discussion that involved three scientists. They weren't researchers, they were scientists. They were doing experiments currently with hyper embryos and anthrobots. Anthrobots are just nanobots. I guess the only distinction between nanobots and nanobots are synthetic, right? They can use organic, material, but technically they are synthetic. Excuse me. Anthrobots, apparently, supposedly, I don't believe this shit. Anthrobots are supposedly organic. So explain to me how they're organic but programmable, I mean, I know that there's programmable black goo, there's programmable graphene and graphite. So maybe there is a way. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. What matters most to me is within those within those talks and those experiments, everyone in the comments is like praising these scientists, talking about how what they're doing is so beautiful. And so I'll level and I'll say, I get that you can grow a person a new arm. You can bring someone's sight back to them. You can cure blindness. You can get rid of disease. You can get rid of cancer. You can do many things with this technology. Do you trust and believe that that is all that will be done, or that it will be done at all? Or that it will be done at all at prices that are attainable to any of us? Because I don't think that. If anything, I think that those things will be used to control minds. I think that it'll be used to enslave people physically, and many things equal to or worse than that. That's what I think. And those comments on that specific video, that podcast, were horrifying to me. And it is a bunch of science nerds and LARPers and shit in there. Just, academia is gross. That shit is lame. Like, it's a bunch of dick riders, bruh. It's just a bunch of dick riders. All y'all just want to find whoever's got the best peer-reviewed paper popping shit right now, so you can get on their coattails, and that shit is gay. That's lame, bruh. I mean, it just doesn't appeal to me at all. So what I'm doing is not at all to try to be a part of academia. I could give a fuck about academia. And that goes both ways. I don't care if you respect me or what I'm doing or take it seriously, and I for damn sure am not. I listen and try to glean things and learn things. I definitely try to learn things, but as far as being a part of academia, I could give two fucks about that. Do not care, because it's an extension of the Rockefeller, brainwashing camp. I don't know what you call schools. But, I mean, just to think about the implications of that, bruh, hyper embryos, like, that's essentially gene editing and fast babies. So, the concept of test tube babies, hyper embryos are basically using multiple intelligent programmable embryos to achieve tasks in gestation. So you can take a team of embryos, they call them cohorts, and you can tell them they essentially interact with each other. So one embryo might say to another one, hey, you're starting to grow a fucked up arm. This is what you need to do to fix it. Cool, that's good. But do you think that that's all that's going to be done with that? Because I don't. And then hyper makes me think fast. And there is a company, I don't remember the company's name, but they're already advertising for the service of growing your child in a controlled environment in a terrarium, basically, in a fishbowl, so that you don't have to carry it. So you inseminate, you give them the embryo, they grow it in a matrix bubble, and then probably, I would say, like 5 to 6 months later, they give you back a baby. There's so many things wrong with that. There's so much shit wrong with that. Why is everyone so trusting? Why would you believe that that's even your genetic material, bruh? That's fucking wild as fuck to believe that. It's very, very strange to me. And then, so going back to the topic though, the concept of using whatever metaphysical capability is that many of us have, the actual players, not the different levels of NPCs or whatever you want to call them. It makes me wonder, and it's a part of my research, how much capability and power do we have? How does it work? How are you creating these egregores in that way? Because currently I don't see any physical iterations of these egregores, but they do have a version of life, right? When you talk about Jesus, look at the things that people will do in Jesus's name, positive and negative. Look at the fucking Vatican. I mean, that's not actually for Jesus, but it still makes my point. Matter of fact, it kind of doesn't. Them niggas are evil and they're not for Jesus. That's some y'all de Baal shit. Some demiurge, archon, fish god shit. So I take that back. But Jesus, that one still sticks. Satan. I mean, arguably, there is a real Jesus, but the one that everyone's, thugging for is not the real Jesus. So I can't say this. Same nigga, like Jesus and Satan, same nigga. The one that y'all think is Jesus, that's not Jesus, because you're not even reading his teachings. You're reading fucking Constantine. You're reading Constantine shit. Consciousness, we focus our attention, creating thought, impulsing in action. Master of puppets. See, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, so an example, right? So the Miami shit, and to be more specific, the alien shit, right? Is there a time frame? Like, is this pre-programming to create physical entities later, or have they been created in the moment where when enough of the real players in the game accepted it as a part of the game? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, is it instantaneous, or is it something that they know they have to? Alchemical Warrior says yes. So when you say that though, where are they? You see what I'm saying? Because it's like, and to add to that, so where are they, and does that denote control? Do you think that they're in control of said egregores? Because that doesn't make as much sense. Because if we were the ones to create said egregores, if anyone were to have control, and I'm not saying anyone would have control over them, because, I mean, the logical thing would be to say they are in control, they're in their own sovereignty. But the next step would be, if they're not in their own sovereignty, then we would control them because we would have created them, right? And even if not, even get past that, say we didn't have control of them, they would still not just like disappear and not do anything else for a while. And I mean, just to be clear, I'm not saying that this is the absolute of what I believe, because I do believe in interdimensional tricksters, interdimensional beings. I've talked about it many times. That's a big part. It's not a big part. It's a part of my research, and there's a whole video talking about documenting corroboration of a part of my theory. It's the number one video. There's like 3 or 4 of them. One of them has an actual picture of a wolf. That one. I changed the name to it. I don't remember what I changed the name to. But that one goes through parts of my theory where I talk about, like, basically how I could see the progression of interdimensional beings interacting with and manipulating this realm and the beings in it, us and others too. But I could see it being that. I could see the Miami shit being that. But I don't think it is, because, I mean, dude, the video is terrible. To me, I exclude the interdimensional thing because my brain tells me it would look real. And that didn't even look real. To be honest, I have a hard time believing that that's Bluebeam. But at the same time, though, I mean, they're idiots, so it could be Bluebeam. The technology might just fucking suck, you know? So, if anything, it's one of those two things, if not something else that I just haven't fathomed. Either Bluebeam or using our consciousness to create said egregores. Oh, it's all good. Mind Instagram drains the fuck out your battery, bro. It's very annoying. Welcome back, though. I was just saying, like, I exclude the interdimensional thing because I believe in those, and that wasn't that. It just looked terrible, and they're doing too much weird shit with all this follow-up content trying to make you believe it. So it's either Bluebeam or it's using our consciousness to create egregores. And if it's the latter, then where are they? Once they're created, they're created. So, like, where would they have gone? Why would they just pop up? Why would they hop out like that and then jump back in the whip and like, I just don't. I feel like they would still be fucking cracking. Bluebeam, but I think subconscious creation. We are all eternal and infinity, but we can only display limited emissions of it. Yeah, but that's not how egregores work, though. That would be like a combination of the two, which is an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought. Using our using actual players' consciousness and power to power Bluebeam is wild. That's funny. I haven't thought of that before. You just helped me. That can't be it, though, dude. That can't be it. If anything, I mean, that's almost semantical with using our consciousness to create the egregore. Like, what would be the difference between an egregore and Bluebeam? If they were using us to create it, it wouldn't matter. It would be the same concept, right? I mean, you could come up with a way to explain it, but it just wouldn't be optimal. I wonder what CERN's up to. I wonder what CERN's up to. Hey, y'all go watch that opening ceremony. If you think CERN's doing regular shit, which you probably don't because you're watching this shit, but if you do, if this is like your first little conspiracy guy video and you think that CERN is fake or not doing weird shit, go watch their opening ceremony. Watch the whole thing. It's long. Watch the whole ceremony. Look at the stuff they do. They need power, and it's our conscious. Yeah, I'm not denying that. I believe that to be true. What I'm looking into is like what different uses they have for using our energy. Many believe that there's the loosh. I am included in that. I believe that this is a farm for loosh, for some people say adrenochrome, which is not loosh. That's a separate concept. Almost like the physical version of loosh. Literally farm food to like eat and do other stuff too, other physical stuff. So I mean, I don't doubt or deny that at all. Just trying to figure out, like, it seems very much to me like it's for some reason important for us to believe in the things. Because if you think about it, if you were just gonna do some alien invasion shit, whether it was fake or real, nigga, just do it. What you gotta keep showing me all these fucking movies and shit for? And fake events in Miami and shit. What you gotta do all that for? That, to me, proves you need me to believe it. You need me to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. I think that's why I get fucked with so hard, because I stopped caring. I don't know when. Actually, I do. When I got kidnapped and put in prison, I completely stopped giving a fuck. I was like, oh, it's like that. All right, okay. And since then, anything that gets done to me that it has some sort of like, ominous or simulation like or metaphysical like twist to it, I get to talking shit. I get to talking shit, and I'm like, you can do that. You can do whatever. You can torture me. You can do whatever you want. But fuck you. I do not care. And I think the more of us that get into that specific type of headspace, the more successful our intentions will be. I'll say it like that. You got to get that fucking in you. CERN creating portals. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, so what they actually say they're doing, it sounds like one of two things. It sounds like they're using the Hadron Collider to create the energy to talk to demons, is what they say, right? Or they're trying to create a portal with the Hadron Collider, and as a secondary, they're talking to an intelligence, a demon. Either one of those is possible if you keep in mind that there is the disagreeable black goo. Because, I mean, you really could just take some of the disagreeable black goo, find a way to channel its consciousness into a consumable medium, meaning like auditory or visual, some way that it could communicate with you. I mean, I think it's telepathic, actually. So I guess you don't need to do that, actually. So take that back. Just kidding. Man, that one scares me. Black goo freaks me the fuck out, bro. To be honest with you. This is a weird place. That's why I'm studying it so hard. Because how could you just sit up in this and be comfortable and not want to know what the fuck is going on? How could you, even if you don't really know a lot, but you have stumbled onto one of these videos, how could you listen to me talk about all this shit and then not like... Alright, I'll back off that. I think that makes people mad sometimes. Some of y'all get aggressive, bruh. I got shit going on in my life. I'm laughing at shit, bruh. What's up with y'all? Some of y'all get aggressive as fuck. Yeah, I don't know that I have too much more than that. I just the connection. That's a significant connection. Sometimes I bring these updates to y'all, and they may not seem like they're significant or groundbreaking or anything like that from my research, but if I come to you and tell you about it, it's a big thing. It's a good thing. And I joke a lot, but that's opened a pathway, another fork. I talk about forks in the road a lot. It's opened another fork. I go down both sides of the fork every time if I can. I go down, and if I reach a dead end, then I turn around, go back to where the fork was, and I go down the other way. You know. But I mean, this is progress. Sometimes I go back and watch my videos for obvious reason, but sometimes I remind myself, oh, this is reminding me of my progress. Going back and seeing where I was then and then where I'm at now, you know, adding all that collective information and shit is deep. That shit's deep, bro. And hearing, I don't even think about this shit sometimes. I have more than once had recognized theoretical physicists, biologists. There was a mathematician. I regularly have them corroborate my theories after I form them. That's crazy, bro. I haven't studied any of this shit in an academic sense. I have not gone to college for any of this shit. You know? That's wild. But, I mean, that's not really why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for a very, very practical reason. Very practical reason. And it's the same reason that I keep coming here and sharing it with y'all, because it's important for all of us. We should all be doing this. We should not be going to bullshit ass jobs and paying fucking $10 for a single item at a grocery store or a gas station. Just saying. Anyway, I think I'm rambling now. So, I think I'm gonna hit the old dusty trail. You know what I mean? It's fucking Friday, dog. I'm gonna go watch some movies and shit, honey. I love y'all, and I'm gonna keep doing what I do, and hopefully this was interesting. But even if it wasn't, I don't give a fuck, because it's part of my research, honey. Bye, I love you, dog.